All right. Welcome, everybody. It's your boy Rick, aka Revolution of the Classics on Twitch. I know you guys are used to seeing me rage quit in fighting games and random Super Mario levels, but today we want to talk about some politics again, because there's a lot to say, and I got a special guest, somebody who was a I guess former congressional candidate and just somebody that I appreciate on TikTok. And the reason why I invited him on is because I feel like this dude is really good at making fun of the bad takes of right wing TikTokers. And those of you that have ever been on TikTok have probably seen a lot of cringe videos. So let's just get right to it. I guess my first question would be, first of all, what motivated you to put out those TikToks, by the way? How'd you get started?
Yeah. So like you said, I some got the stupid idea in my head to run for Congress, and TikTok was part of that, like creating a social media presence to try to find supporters. I was planning on using social media to fundraise mostly, and then as far as connecting with people in the district, that was more on Facebook. Um, so I was just kind of feeling things out. I really just enjoy the format on TikTok and the way that it shares the videos. And people, it was a good way for me to also practice being in front of a camera. It's not something I had done a lot before, but it's something you definitely need to be able to do as someone who wants to be in politics. You need to be comfortable in front of a camera, delivering talking points, coming up with talking points,
Right.
effective ones, because that's really what's going to move the needle, whether it's talking to people face to face or in some kind of mass social media. So that's how I got on TikTok. I think I'm pretty good at it. I had an account with 3,500 followers in like under a year. That one got deleted. It got like multiple violations because I'm getting censored
No, sir. So
by big tech.
that's funny. Isn't that funny how sometimes like the right wingers think it's just, oh, we're being censored because they got banned for saying some racist or dumb on Facebook, but then like they don't know like the real cancel culture, which is to try to silence like people really challenging the status quo, right? I mean, is that kind of what you experience, like a
I mean,
real?
God knows why I got my account got taken down. I think actually what got me, it might have actually made sense. I have a kind of a pinup girl on my wall in my office, and she made it into one of my lives, and I think that was the last strike. But before that, I was reported. Yes, a video I made about the flag. I didn't even say anything really innocuous, but or outrageous. I thought it was pretty standard thing to say, but yeah, that one got. So God only knows, right? It's a black box. We don't know why our
You
accounts
know,
get
you know
taken
what I
down half
think.
the
You
time.
know what I think. I know this is a bit of a tangent, but I also think sometimes if somebody just doesn't like you, they'll just report you or just
Oh
try to
yeah.
make some shit up. You know.
Those are the only people that I block. Like, I don't care people like leaving nasty comments because half the time my followers are going after them. But if they're gonna like try to report me,
But oh, by the way,
if I get that feeling.
can I put your TikTok name on the chat or what
Oh,
the?
sure, yeah.
Let me just. Okay, so I'm sure everybody's
And I
on
can just say it real quick. It's Steph Devitt, STEF underscore underscore Devitt. But yeah, you can put that up too.
Okay, that's gonna go in the. Oh, it should go in the. Okay, so that's on my Twitch channel. Those of you on Twitch, you guys should be able to see his screen name for TikTok. And by the way, it's just really good. Okay, so I guess let me go through maybe one thing that I thought was good, and
Sure.
we'll dive into it. So one of the most cringe things I saw on TikTok was this one guy that's like, "Tell me why we gotta pay these burger flippers $18 an hour." He was like upset. So this dude was upset that people at fast food restaurants are getting paid more. So I guess because and it's kind of sad because the dude was a blue collar worker, which unfortunately I see that sometimes they get sucked into like right wing talking points and stuff. But I guess one of my big things, something I promote, I mean, is I think that first of all, labor should be well paid, and I'm definitely like pro union. I actually think there needs to be a strengthening of unions right now. One of the things I talked about in a previous political discussion I had on here was what happened when the tornadoes came and hit Kentucky. How there was a candle factory where basically the workers were told like, "Hey, if you leave, we're gonna fire you." And so people they stayed making these candles, and they ended up basically dying. It's like, man, that's awful. Like these
Right.
workers felt impelled to die making these candles, and I mean, but anyway, so what's kind of
There was a
go
similar
ahead, go ahead.
story in so I'm from Illinois, and in southern Illinois there was a similar story. I think it was an Amazon warehouse where a similar thing happened. They wouldn't let the workers leave. They threatened to fire them, or at least that's what was alleged. And yeah, people ended up dying, in that warehouse. And there was a story of a guy who could have made it home. Yeah,
And
so one of the pillars of my campaign was end worker exploitation. So that kind of factors into that. Yeah, strengthening unions. Repealing Taft-Hartley. I don't know if you've heard of
go
Taft-Hartley.
ahead. No, go. Actually, I haven't. I'm gonna take notes. This is
Sure,
partly
sure.
why I have these discussions because I figured you would know some stuff. Taft Hartley. It sounds familiar, but go ahead.
Yeah, I won't go too much into it, but Taft-Hartley was a bill that was passed that weakened unions. Basically,
Right.
there was a bunch of new rules that made it more difficult for people to unionize and to have effective unions. But I'm very encouraged by the things we've been seeing over the past like 2 years. Um, uh, the unions, the Bessemer, Alabama, Amazon drive, that was very encouraging. And there have been strikes, the John Deere strikes, which actually like they won very significant concessions. That is the future of the left, or at least that's the fight we need to put a lot of attention into right now. One of the fights, just because there's such a gridlock in Congress. The campaign finance system is so messed up. It makes it really hard for anybody who is a real progressive grassroots movement. Makes it very hard to get anything done that way. And so unions are a great outside strategy, and they're winning. Like they're winning a lot of these battles, which is really great and very encouraging to see. So unionization in the past like 2 years is, I think, shows you why the left needs to recommit to that outside strategy. It's
Exactly.
online stuff is definitely
Do
fun.
you
And
think now? Can I
yeah, go
ask you
ahead.
something? Do
Yeah.
you think that like what people consider like the woke left, which by the way, I still think it's important to fight racism and whatnot. But do you think it's important though to also get maybe some of these I don't know to try to push like these liberals more towards these issues? Because it also seems like people get polarized by the culture issues, and it seems to me like a lot of right wingers, the way they get sucked into reactionary politics is they're not really recruited to join like labor unions, etc. They just get told like, look at these lefties, they just want to, you
Yeah.
know, they just want to call you a racist, and you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying.
I know what you're saying. So I got some notes prepared here. This is something I really wanted to talk about, and it's the way that the left and the right use language in different ways. And a reason that I think a lot of leftists have problems debating with right wingers or countering their arguments. Basically, the left uses language to explain things. We're very smart. We have all these ideas and concepts we want to explain to you, and so we use it to we use language properly, in my opinion. We use it to communicate ideas. The right does not use language that way. They use language to try to win. Whatever the conversation is, they'll use language in a totally different way than we are, and so we often find ourselves confused and not really sure how to respond to their talking points, and wondering why what we're saying maybe doesn't sound effective. Um, so
That's why what you're doing
that's
with the
something I've noticed.
TikToks is so important, right? Because
Yeah,
that's kind
that's
of a
something I
way
think
to
about a
change.
lot.
Yeah, that's some
Mhm.
way. That's one way to intervene. Man, that's such an important point. And but still, like, because there is like, in my opinion, there are creative ways to like create content where you're making fun of like a bad take.
Yeah, once you
The
understand that dynamic, you can start to really have some fun. when you So I mean, for example, um, we can use their language against them. I think there's debate on the left and to whether or not you should even debate people on the right, specifically for this reason, because they are so bad faith. But if you are going to debate people on the right, a great thing to do is to steal their own terminology and use it against them. So things like using phrases like freedom, for example. They have a monopoly on the word freedom right now. And here, I like freedom. Where do you think I align politically, right?
Right.
Freedom is a great thing. So the left needs to kind of take back that word. So one thing I used in my campaign was saying that a single payer healthcare system would make you more free to move jobs. So right now you're trapped at your job because you want to go do something. Maybe you want to go do something else. Maybe you want to pursue a passion, but you're stuck at your job because you need health insurance. So you would be more free with a different healthcare system. And so see what I kind of did there is I'm using freedom in like a left, in kind of a left context.
So just and we'll hit on this. We got to hit on this point really hard, I think, because something that I was just thinking about. Okay, so you know what's funny is the right wing kind of does that, right? Because they'll take like critical race theory, and instead of, they don't talk about logically like what it actually means. They just make up what it means. And
then they tell you what it means.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, it's kind of the same thing, like what you're saying. It's comparable, right? Where it's like an effective rhetorical tool. Like they know how to like manipulate people, and then
they do that exact same thing to us. Like they took the language of pro-abortion rights. My body, my choice. That was originally language used by pro-choice people, and now they've used it to fight against vaccines and masks, right? And they do the same thing with oh god, I should have written it down, but they do this. They know, and it's rhetorically effective, unfortunately. And I ran as an independent, so I'm always thinking about the normies, like the people who are kind of apolitical and how it comes across to them. And that's where I think lefties, we're smart people. We have all the right ideas, but we get too bogged down in details. And I think we have to really narrow it down.
Yeah, and we have to be more effective than say like the Tim Pools and the like, the Dave Rubins and those people, because if we're going to be smarter than them, we also have to find ways to be creative in,
right.
Recruiting,
it's not enough
right?
to be smarter than them. It's not enough to be smarter. You got to be more effective.
Exactly. That's a really good point. So you stopped running. By the way, is there anything else about this that maybe you think people should know, as far as like how we could sort of win people's I don't know, or how we can sort of win like the political debate,
Yeah. So I think this is what leftists should do to become more effective. And like the thing is, it's super personalized. Like I have my own ideas that I came up with, and you're never going to get like the same results. I think this is the best advice I got. Basically, you boil down your ideas over and over and over and over again. So you write, for example, like paragraphs about you write out your whole ideology, everything you believe. Write it, paragraphs, pages. Next draft, shorten it as much as you can. Next draft, shorten it even more. Next draft, shorten it even more until you're down to ideally 3 short sentences. And so this is what really helped me kind of organize my thoughts in a coherent way that then I can express more easily. And the more you do it, you kind of get better at kind of doing it on the fly. But this is an exercise you got to do like on your own time. So that's how I came up with my kind of the pillars of my campaign, which was end the 2-party system, end corruption in Congress, and the exploitation of workers. It's very short, simple, direct.
Yeah.
It's going to appeal to normies.
And those are
really hard. Yeah.
Man, and those are things that are so important. Yeah.
And it covers so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you have the depth behind it, right? When you have like sort of the background to really go into, like when it's appropriate, if you have the research, you can go into depth. But when you're just trying to be effective in sort of shaping the culture, you're concise. It's like almost poetic, man. That's what I like about what you're saying.
And
know.
I just heard about this Republican candidate somewhere. I forget exactly where it is, but she had her three pillars of her campaign. If I remember correctly, it was like Jesus, guns, and babies. That was it. It's like Jesus, guns, and babies. That's it. Which is, so she's kind of on the right track, right? But she doesn't have any depth behind, like, what about babies? What about just all things about them? Like,
oh, jeez. It's so funny, man, how our politics is. Oh,
and
smack.
there are a couple more things I want to say real quick.
Go ahead.
Don't be afraid to stay away from like charged language, or if a word gets too toxic or a slogan is just unpopular, don't feel bad either leaving it behind or like not leading with it. And the example I give is Medicare for all. And I'm 100% for Medicare for all, right? But the normies, and I hope everyone understands what I mean by the normies, some of them have a very negative connotation of Medicare for all. They think it's socialist, they associate it with Bernie Sanders, blah, 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 whatever. So instead of that, I say, we're gonna fix healthcare. I know it seems absurdly dumb, and any good leftist would ask me, how are you gonna fix healthcare? But that's what I would lead with when I talk about healthcare. We're gonna fix healthcare. Okay, then how are you gonna fix it? Well, we're gonna give insurance companies more leverage to bargain for lower prices. Oh, how are you going to do that? Make the insurer bigger. How do you make the insurer bigger? Let's get the maximum insurer we can possibly get to get us the lowest prices.
Yeah.
And so they'll kind of come with you down the primrose path, and they don't even realize they're agreeing with Medicare for all.
That's so funny. I saw that. You know who I saw do that effectively. You ever watch like the Midas Touch guys?
I have not seen that. No.
They run an interesting podcast, and they sometimes they go out into the street and they're like, you know what, we should have the government take over this thing. And then like you get the people at the Trump rally like, yeah, get the government. They all of a sudden they start supporting like like top down like freaking like nationalization of certain things. It's like, oh shoot, he's gotten them to accept Marxist theory.
Right,
by simply not using the words, I'm not necessarily.
I don't know how often that sticks with people. Like I talk with people about politics a lot. I make all these videos that get decent views. I don't know if I've ever changed one person's mind on anything. I have no idea if that's ever happened. That's where I'm still not sure if any of this is conducive to actually bring people. I hope you would think something like that would stick. You have them agreeing all the way, and then when they figure out what they've been advocating for, you would hope that they go, oh, maybe I should rethink this. But I think on an emotional level, they're so upset with you that you tricked them that they automatically reject it. And that's another thing. Don't be afraid to go the emotional route. And to appeal to emotions.
And just for the record, I'm not necessarily in supportive of every like radical policy, but I will say that some things that are, it's sad that some of the things that are not even really radical, like like I don't know, collective bargaining and things like this, or some kind of public healthcare system. Like the right wing has tried to convince so many people that this is like some kind of like Marxism that comes from the Soviet era or something, or they just call everything communist.
Everything the government does, you just call it socialist
or communist.
There's the great meme I saw. It was Richard Wolff just goes, if socialism is when the government does stuff, the more stuff it does, the more socialist it is. And when the government does a whole lot of stuff, it's called communism, which that's the level that we're dealing with here. But you can also use that the other way around, when they want to, you could call it small government to defund the police.
Right.
Right. So that's the ridiculous situations you get into. And I don't even know if that line is productive. Like I said, I don't know if that changes anyone's mind.
Okay.
It really depends